So when I shoot, when I do videos in the Shropshire Hills in South Shropshire, I always say that I'm shooting locally, and I am. However, for me to get to that location, it takes me about 40 minutes to drive there. So there's always a big part of me that thinks I'm lying to myself here. This isn't really local. So anyway, to get to my point, I am shooting like proper local this week. I am shooting really local, and this is a woodland that is literally about 10 minutes drive from where I live. I've never been here before, and I don't even know if it's nice. I've just scoured my ordnance survey maps, like you guys know that I enjoy doing. Love an OS map, and I've just found a lay-by to park up at, and this is me now, just in this proper said local woodland, just exploring. It's a weekday evening, so I've just popped here after work, literally, with my camera, just to see how I get on. I don't really know what I'm looking for. Woodland photography is not at all my forte. I struggle with it, like a lot of general landscape photographers, let's say, tend to. But just fancy challenging myself, and you know, part of me is probably thinking ahead towards autumn a little bit. You know, is there going to be anything worth shooting here come autumn? I don't know, but yeah, it's looking decent. It's very overgrown, of course, because we're in summer. You can probably see quite a lot of these ferns and brambles and stuff. It's very green, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, it's lovely to be out on a weekday evening, of course, and let's see if there's anything worth photographing. Look at this. I think this is a pretty cool scene behind me there. Scots pine trees. You know I love a Scots pine. However, I very rarely come across them, especially because I don't shoot woodlands often, but these are gorgeous, and I don't know, it is obviously very summer, you know, it's very overgrown, ridiculously green actually. My eyes are rating it's that green. However, it is my favourite colour, and I think there's probably something to be made here. I can't sort of manoeuvre around too much because it is massively overgrown, but it's looking nice. Conditions aren't ideal, of course, but you knew I was going to say that. It's overcast. It feels like a proper summer evening here in the UK, where it's kind of overcast and muggy, and you know, it feels really like tacky. I don't know, there's something to be made here, something to be had. So I'm going to wander around a little bit more and see if I can begin to maybe piece together a composition.
So here's a reminder to look at life that's pouring into you. And so my friend, let me tell you once again,
This is pretty nice, you know. I think I must have been here now for about 25 minutes just in this one spot, and I think it's took me to have this lengthy period here to actually enjoy and appreciate the scene, if that makes sense. I think a lot of the time, I've mentioned this, I think I mentioned this in as many words last week, but a lot of the times I'm on a mountaintop and I'm really excitable. I think sometimes I don't think as much as I probably should about my composition, and I think this sort of thing for me, and hopefully for a lot of you guys as well, in the sense of trying to give you a bit of advice, this is a really good way of training your eye as a photographer and training your view of composition, training around the art of composition. It's fantastic because, like I say, I've been here for ages, and really tiny movements, not even thought about getting my tripod out. I'm going to take a handheld shot here as well. It's just brilliant because I'm really finding myself thinking so much about the elements of the whole composition. So the subject, what I want to include, what I don't want to include, thinking about my lenses. I've had all three lenses on this camera body whilst I've been trying to figure out the best composition. So before I get properly into my composition and stuff, I wanted to show you a little bit of a tip, a little bit of a trick that I like to do when I'm in woodland. And I like to start with my 18 to 55mm lens. It's very rare that I even take my wide angle lens with me if I come to woodlands. I just don't use it in woodlands. It's very, very rare. So what I like to do is stick my 18-55mm lens on, and I'll take a sort of, I don't know, a vague shot of the area that I want to shoot in. You know, I'll come up with a rough idea of a composition that I want, and I'll take a fairly wide shot. I think in this instance I shot at about 30mm. And then what I'll do is I'll get it up on the back of my camera screen. I'll just probably find the actual shot. Yeah, up on the back of my camera screen like that, and I'll zoom in to the actual photograph. And using the arrows on my camera, I'll, you know, literally physically move around the photograph, and it's almost like I'm actively cropping in on the image, eradicating anything from the photograph that I don't want to capture, and almost creating a composition with the zoom function that's on my camera. Do you know what I mean? So once I've done that, this is exactly what I've done here. I've done that, and then I figured, right, I need to get my 55-200 lens on. So I'll get that out, stick that on the front of the camera, and then it allows me to get that composition. So I suppose I'll talk you through my composition. It's very intricate. It's going to be quite difficult for me to explain because it's took me, you know, quite a long period of time to piece all of this together. But we have this one Scots pine tree here that is going to be, I suppose, the main subject of the photograph. I suppose it's going to be quite difficult for me to show you. I'll put a bit of B-roll and I'll put an arrow to the one I'm talking about. But this one is going to be my main subject, and this is going to be this is going to be where my focus point is, right on this tree. So it's probably only, what, 10 meters in front of me. But what I really like about it is as the focus falls off, we've got this second tree behind it. Again, I'll use an arrow, which is kind of leaning into the main subject, so the first tree where the focal point is. And then, what am I shooting at? F4.5. So because I'm focused on this tree and it's quite far in, it's quite close to me, I'm shooting at 70mm, and it means there's a beautiful fall off of focus into the background, which I like because it gives the photograph a lot of cleanliness, if that makes sense. It gets rid of a lot of the chaos. It makes it nice and simple, for sure. That's an easy way of saying it. So compositionally, that's pretty much it. And then we've got obviously a lot of other Scots pine trees dotted around. ISO 100, ISO 400, f4.5, and that's giving me 1/100th of a second of a shutter speed, which is, I'm comfortable at shooting at that shutter speed handheld without getting any motion blur. ISO 400, it's fine, I don't mind. So all in all, it's wonderful. It's really nice not to have to get my tripod out as well. I think the only thing that I'm struggling with here is whether to take a landscape orientation shot or portrait. So I've done both, and I don't know, I'll probably stick both up. Let me know which one you prefer out of the two. If you watch me regularly, you know I very rarely shoot in portrait dimension unless I'm doing a pano. But yeah, I think I would have liked to have done a pano in this location, but it's not quite going to work because there's a few sort of fallen branches and twigs and just a lot of mess that's not going to allow me to capture that simplicity, which is really what I'm going for here. But yeah, beautiful subject and a really nice little find. So I'll put them two photographs up, I think, like I said, one portrait, one landscape. I hope you like them. Please let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Who put that tree there like that? Jesus. So I'm going to carry on the theme or challenge of just trying something a bit different just by being here this week now, and that is by photographing these beautiful wildflowers or wild plants that we get here in the UK in the summertime, and they are called, or they are commonly known as foxgloves. I don't know what they're actually called, but of course they are gorgeous and extremely photogenic, which is the reason why I am here looking at it, of course. It's stunning. It's got these beautiful, I don't know, like tubular shaped petals, and like I say, really photogenic. So I'm going to get my camera, 1 second. Right, I've got my camera. I've actually got my 18 to 55mm lens on, which I think is going to work perfectly here. Now I'm not going to, this isn't really going to be macro as such. I don't think it's going to be that close in on the subject. I'm just just playing around here. I don't have a clue what I'm going to get out of this. I've got my vibration reduction on. I'm going to try it at f3.5. Hang on a sec, just knock the ISO up. Nope, knock it back down. Right, f3.5, 1/40th of a second, ISO 400. And let's see what I can get here. Because it really is a gorgeous, gorgeous subject. And apparently these can grow up to 6 feet tall. It's a fun fact that I just read on the internet, because I don't have a clue about flowers. And I guess here all I'm doing technically, if you want to talk technically, is trying to, sorry, it's just staying still there, just trying to utilise a nice depth of field, which is why I'm shooting at f3.5. And this lens is great for that, to be fair. It's only my kit lens, but it works really, really well. It's not a massively interesting background. I like a bit more of a fall off in focus, to be honest. I can't open my aperture anymore because the best I can get on this lens is f3.5. So what I'm going to do instead, this is a nice little tip, is actually just zoom in on the subject, which means that the best I can shoot at now is f4.5, which sounds worse. However, when you're using that sort of telephoto effect, let's call it, you get a little bit more of a depth of field effect. So I'd say there's more of a fall off in focus there now. And yeah, I like that. It's not incredible. Something a little bit different. So what a cool little adventure. It's really, really nice to come out somewhere local, just explore. Like I mentioned earlier when I was taking the first image, just practice, you know, just learn a little bit more about composition. If you're not familiar with your camera, learn a bit more about your camera, you know, learn about the exposure triangle, all these things. It's a really good opportunity to get used to all them sorts of things, which will become second nature after a while. That's the end of the video, and thank you guys so much for watching. As always, hope you enjoyed the adventure, something a little bit different this week. And yeah, I shall see you guys next week on the next adventure. Out.